Up YouTube? It is NZ Dreamer here, and today I want to talk about a dream that I had about the Pentecostal church. Now, pretty much in the dream, this is in 2022, and back then I used to smoke weed. I used to smoke weed like quite a bit. Like I didn't smoke it as much as some people do, and I never got to the point of smoking it to a high amount. But I did smoke like weed, and pretty much I didn't have very good fix for it. Like when I smoked weed, I would black out, I would vomit, I get super paranoid. Those are things. No, I wouldn't black out. I mean green out, green out. That's the term. Being blacked out means you're getting knocked out. I didn't get knocked out by weed, but pretty much when I smoked weed, I would always like have all these problems when I smoking weed, and I had this dream that I had because I smoked weed. So pretty much what happens in the dream was that I was walking across these green rolling hills in the countryside. It looked like it was like in sunset or some weird kind of like otherworldly realm. And there was like a church in the distance, and there were like these like fences around. And pretty much this man who had no face, there was like this man in a suit who had like fancy hair. He looked like Lucifer from the TV show Lucifer, and he had like no face. And this dude was like basically trying to show me stuff. He was like, he sees something like you should leave this church for me or something. And then I don't know if this happened during the dream or if this is just something I remembered afterwards. But he showed me the inside of this Pentecostal church, and it was this Pentecostal church that like I had been to in my hometown, and this is about a Pentecostal demon. I forgot to mention that. This is about a Pentecostal demon, and it showed me inside. It was all weird. There were like these pink lights, and it was a bird. It was like trying to get me to run this like Pentecostal church that I went to a few times in the past. Now I'm not a Pentecostal, but I do believe in Christianity. I just don't believe in like mainstream Christianity. Anyway, this like dude was showing me around, and then after he offers him, I said no to him. Like I said no to him. Like I don't know what would have happened if I said yes to him, but I said no to him in the dream. And then the scene changes, and I'm going to this caravan park with my mom and stuff like that. And in the caravan park and stuff, I was like going in there, and there was like tons of graves all around me and stuff, and in the graveyard and stuff, it was weird. It was like going for a few days. Like a few days passed in the dream. It was like in the daytime it was a caravan park, but in the nighttime it was like a graveyard. It was like a demonic graveyard. And this like demon figure, the same demon figure who had no face and stuff, was suddenly appeared to me during one time in the when it was nighttime the last night, and he was like this really strange man who had tattoos. He had like straps around his like around his shoulders, and he was like a man with tattoos. And I think he had a mustache. He had like long black hair and stuff, and he was like shirtless except for the straps around his shoulders, which came from his pants. He had like black pants and black shoes. He had a machete in his left hand. I think it was his left hand or his right hand. It had no pupils in his eyes, and he had this crazy psychotic look. He was smiling at me. He was chasing me, and I knew that he wanted to kill me. And me and my mom were we were in our car. We were just driving out, and he was chasing me. And I had a feeling that if he killed me in the dream, I would have died in real life, and something really bad would have happened. And that's the dream that I had. And I had this because I smoked weed, and the whole time this dream felt really hazy. And afterwards, I had like this thought in my head telling me that he was showing me a Pentecostal church or something like that. Now, like, I wasn't 100% sure if his dream was real, if it was actually about Pentecostalism. But then I learned more about Pentecostalism and stuff, and I met this other prophetic dreamer who had a dream that lined up with mine, and he was calling out the Pentecostal church, and I was talking to him about it. Like, basically what he said about the Pentecostal church was that when you speak in glossolalia, i.e., tongues, you're actually being possessed by demons who are making you speak basically nonsense languages. Like, and pretty much, like, the practice of speaking tongues in the Pentecostal church is not what the apostles of Jesus did, what his disciples did, because they argue that what they're doing is what Jesus' disciples did in Acts. But the truth is, they didn't do that. They didn't, like, speak gibberish. Like, the act of speaking tongues is basically, it's like, if I wanted to go to Egypt to convert the Egyptians to Christianity, I'd suddenly get the power to be able to speak Egyptian. And when I go to, I don't know, China, I want to convert Chinese people to Christianity, I'd have the power to speak Chinese and stuff. Or if I wanted to go to Greece or like a Native American, I'd be able to speak Greek and Native American to convert these Greek people and Native Americans to Christianity. So that's what the whole purpose of like speaking in tongues was. If you read the book of Acts, like the Apostle Peter, according to the Gospel of the Holy 12, was actually the Apostle John. He was speaking to these people in like in the languages they could understand. There were Ethiopians, there were Chaldeans, there were Parthians, which were Persians. There were all sorts of people from all different countries going to Jerusalem to hear this dude talk. And this dude started speaking their languages. When he spoke, they were all able to simultaneously understand their language. On a side note, I think there might be telepathy speaking in tongues. And he had the Holy Spirit coming into him. So, pretty much, the act of speaking tongues is supposed to be a supernatural power. Like, it's supposed to be a supernatural power you get after becoming, like, spiritually enlightened, and you're getting, like, spiritual gifts from God for being faithful to Jesus. And for, like, being baptized and being filled with the Holy Spirit. But, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't really fit. Do you really think that anyone in the Pentecostal church fits those descriptions? Because it's like, if they were actually able to speak in tongues, they would be able to do the other things the apostles did, like raising the dead, healing the sick, and doing stuff like that, and like being able to walk on water like Jesus did. Because think about it, if Peter was able to walk on water like Jesus did, then that kind of means that he would have been able to walk on water afterwards, because Jesus said that they do greater things than him. But to get to the point, it's like, what they're doing isn't really the speaking in tongues that was described in the book of Acts, and that's just isn't the same thing. So it's like, what's really going on is there's actually like demons who are speaking in tongues for them and pretending that like speaking the tongues of the book of Acts, but it's kind of a scam, because pretty much it's like here's how you know it's a scam. What is it going to accomplish speaking in tongues? That's not really going to accomplish anything, because no one can understand it. Now, they claim it's a heavenly language, but it's like, even if it was, but the thing is, one, how do you know it's a heavenly language if you haven't been to heaven? Like, how can you possibly know that? And two, even if it's a heavenly language, what's the point of being able to speak a heavenly language if no one else understands it? So pretty much, they're demonic. And to get off to the tangent, the other things that this guy said was that he said that he had a dream where there was this gargoyle demon who was presiding over the Pentecostal church, and he was controlling these Christians and spiritually influencing them to do witchcraft and stuff like that. And when I talked to him, he said it could have been Satan. Thinking back on it, it might have been Satan or like another fallen angel. I don't believe that Satan, that when you count a fallen angel, there's always Satan. There's lots of fallen angels, so it's not always Satan. But I personally think this demon that I met was the gargoyle that this guy mentioned. So, yeah, my opinion is that this dream that's been revealed to me shows that a demon actually runs the Pentecostal church. So, if you're Pentecostal, you either got to stop being Pentecostal, or you got to find a Pentecostal church that doesn't like practice these deceitful things. It doesn't speak in tongues. It doesn't have these like fake prophets, because none of these prophets are real prophets. They can't be prophets because none of their dreams come to pass, and they're promoting like occultism and sorcery, and they're like taking advantage of people, and they're being immoral towards people. if you read the Old Testament and the Bible, God actually punished like prophets for doing things that he didn't like. For example, when Moses struck the water, and struck the rock to give the Israelites water instead of speaking to it, he actually got in trouble from God for doing that. And due to some other sins, he wasn't allowed to see the promised land. And Moses was the greatest prophet in Judaism ever in the Bible, yet he got in trouble with God. So it's like, if these guys are really prophets from God, why are they not getting in trouble with God? Like, they're not. Like, they're not getting in trouble with God. They're pretty much just extorting people for money. Like, but the thing is, no prophet in the Bible, whether it be the Old Testament or the New Testament, like, extorted people for money. None of them did that. In fact, the Pentecostals, like, what they're doing is actually something that was spoken against in the New Testament. They're practicing simony, because simony is actually like the practice of extorting people who believe in Christianity or Judaism for money and saying that you're getting gifts from the Holy Spirit. It's pretty much you're getting someone to pay you to give out gifts from the Holy Spirit. But like the gifts from the Holy Spirit that were mentioned in the Bible are meant to help people out. They're not meant to be like they're not meant to be like they're not meant to be used for financial gain. Because it's like Jesus said, you can't serve two masters. You either serve God or Mammon, and Paul says that the love of money is the root of all evil. So the Pentecostal church is demonic. It's ran by Freemasons. Kenneth Copeland is a Freemason. And I've heard of Freemasons, or people in the Pentecostal church who know how to do Freemasonic handshakes. And there's also other Pentecostal ministers who have done Freemason hand signs. So if you're Pentecostal, you got to stop following Pentecostalism and go to another church, man. Like, I don't personally believe in going to church. Like, I don't personally go to church, but if you have to go to church, I think it's better to go to another church that isn't a Pentecostal church. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. Something that's very interesting is that there was actually another church in early Christianity called the Montanists, who were basically taught the exact same things as Pentecostals. They overemphasized prophecy, and they taught and speak in tongues. Now, the original Montanists may have been okay if they weren't like speaking gibberish when they were speaking in tongues, but I don't think it's a coincidence that Montanism and Pentecostalism are so similar. In fact, I think that the enemy, the Freemason Illuminati, when they started to make like lots of different modern Christian denominations and stuff and hijacking Christianity further than it had been hijacked, I think that they based like Pentecostalism off of Montanism. So if you're Pentecostal, you should research Montanism and go ahead and do that. So yeah, to end this video, a personal thought that I have is I believe that the reason why we're seeing so many restorations of Christian denominations such as Gnosticism, Essenes, Ebionites, Montanists, and Baptists, and all that kind of stuff is because I believe that now the people from the time of early Christianity, I believe everyone who was an early Christian is being reincarnated as a Christian. And I believe that these Christians are subconsciously remaking the kind of like Christianity that they followed. Now I know that's hard to believe. I know that's hard for me to prove. I don't really have any good proof for that aside from the fact it's a thought. That's just what I believe personally. But I have had some dreams that imply that reincarnation exists. And if I ever get a dream implying that reincarnation is actually like, if I ever get another dream implying that reincarnation is real, I will definitely post it. So yeah, I'm going to post a few notes about the Montanists at the end of the video. And I will re-record this video if I don't think it's up to scratch. If not, then I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm NZ Dreamer. I'm out. Peace.